So earlier this week, someone actually asked me how he or she can actually trade the news in my Telegram channel. So funny enough, within the week, I also trade some news. I also made some decent profit that I dropped in my Telegram channel as well. So in this particular video, I'm going to share with you a step-by-step guide on how you can actually trade the news. We are going to start from identifying the platform where we'll be looking at for the news. Secondly, look out for how to understand the news and which sort of news you should consider trading, because not every news actually have impact on the market. There are some specific news that will actually give you high impact, high movement within a short time. So being able to identify this one is very crucial, and that's what I'm going to share with you in today's video. But before we continue, here's one thing I will let you know. If you are planning to trade the news, a lot of fundamental traders are out there that are highly profitable. But one thing I advise is that trading the news is highly risky. So before you continue watching this video, make sure that you accept the risks of trading the news, because if you are not patient enough to actually observe the market when trading news, you might actually make a lot of mistakes. So if you are interested in trading news, then I advise you watch this video, every single step of this video, to be able to understand every single thing you need to put in place to make sure that you are trading the news the right way. So hello guys, when it comes to trading news, the first thing you need to do is that you need to have a platform where you go for news regularly. And for this particular video, I'll be showing you this website that I use. This is the particular website I personally use whenever I want to trade. Even when I'm coming to trade news or not, I come to this platform first. And this platform is known as Forex Factory. So Forex Factory is where almost every single trader out there goes out for their news. And now when it comes over to Forex Factory, you don't want to trade every single news out there, because this is not how the interface actually looks. This is how it looks. Let me show you how the main interface look. So when you come over to Forex Factory, this is how the interface look, and all these news is here are news that are already been released. So for this particular video, I'll be using future news and past news to actually show you how news actually affect the market. So now when it comes to trading news, I don't trade news on every single currency pair. I have my specific currency pairs that I trade. So for example, if there's a high impact news coming on the US dollar, please pay attention. If there's a high impact news coming on the US dollar, I trade the US dollar versus gold. Why do I trade that market? The reason why I trade that market is that news in that market is highly effective. So take this again. If there is a high impact news on US dollar, I focus on US dollar and gold. If there's a high impact news on Great Britain pounds, I focus on Great Britain pounds versus Japanese yen. If there's a high impact news on Canadian dollar, I focus on Canadian dollar versus Australian dollar. So those are the markets I actually look out for. I don't trade news coming on euro. If there's any news on euro, I don't trade it. It's dangerous to my mental health, so I don't go there. So the only market I trade are these ones you see here. So I only look out for news from this particular market. Let me just write them out for you. So I only look out for news in US dollar, GBP, JPY, AUD, CAD, NZD. So these are my markets. NZD, okay, left with one, chef. So these are my markets. These are the only markets where I'm interested in the news. Apart of this market, I'm not interested in any news again. So when I go over to my trading platform, I know that I'm only looking for news from this particular market. So why am I looking for news from only this particular market? The simple reason is that I've traded this market over and over again, and I know the kind of news that actually affect them. That's why I also advise you not to just get in and trade news on every single market out there. Don't do that. Look for markets that you know what affects them the most, and focus on those particular markets. So these ones, technically, these are the pairs I trade. Fundamentally, these are the pairs I actually trade. So now, for example, if I get a news on the US dollar, I'll trade it against gold. So it will be ZOR USD. So if I have a news on the US dollar, I'll trade it against gold. If I have a news on Great Britain pounds, I'll trade it against Japanese yen. So I'll trade GBP, JPY. If I have a news on JPY as well, I'll trade it against the Britain pounds. If I have a news on Australian dollar, I'll look to trade it against AUD CAD or AUD chef. This is the market whereby I'll trade news coming up. And if I have a news on Canadian dollar as well, I'll trade it against those other markets. And if I have a news on the New Zealand dollar, I'll be looking forward to trade it against the US dollar or the Great Britain pounds. So So this is simply my circle of trading the news. You can see it here. If I have a news on dollar, I trade it against gold. If I had the news on GBP, I trade it against JPY. And if I have a news on JPY, I only trade it against GBP. The reason that I've traded news in this particular market over and over again, till I see that they are the ones that work for me. Initially, I used to trade news on Euro and a lot of other pairs are there, but they normally don't go well for me. These are the market that go well for me, so I mainly focus on these markets alone. So now that you've known the market and how I trade it, now let's talk about how you can actually know which of the news to actually consider trading. So for that, let's come over to Forex Factory. So now once I come over to Forex Factory here, the first thing I'll do is that I'll pick the particular date. So for example, if I come over to today to only focus on today's news, and I don't want to do today because the news are already out. So now I'm going to jump over to next week news. So for that, I'll come over to next week. So now next week, now these are all the news available coming up on the following week, which is the new week we are entering. I'm actually recording this video on Friday 9th, 10th of May 2024. So once I come over here now, I'll filter. I'll get rid of all of this and focus on only the orange box and then the red box. The reason why I only focus on this is that the red stands for high impact. Any news coming on this particular red box has a higher chance of moving the market to the part whereby the news favors. And anyone coming on the orange box as well have a partial effect, but then I mainly prefer the red box. So I'm just going to focus on those two. Now hit on apply filter. So now with this one, the market is actually going to filter just to those two pairs. Now you can see that the market has filtered to those two pairs. And now you can see the first one here I have here is inflation expectation. This is on New Zealand dollar. Now here's one warning. When it comes to me actually scalping the news, you see over here now you can see three lines here. You see we have actual, we have forecast, and then we have previous. Any market that has previous but doesn't have forecast, I don't trade it on news. So I only focus on market that have both forecast and previous. Like for example, if I'm looking to trade news in this market right now, the first one I'll look at for is on Tuesday. That's when I'm getting my favorite news. Tuesday, you can see it over here. What is it? Tuesday, May 14, 6 a.m. we'll have a news on GBP. So you can see it here. Let me go back. So on Tuesday 6 p.m. we'll have a news on GBP, which is about the climate count change. So now the way you can actually know the impact of this news is that you simply copy it and then go over to Google to actually understand what this particular news mean. So they say the climate count change measures the change in the number of unemployed people in the UK. During the reported month, a rising trend indicates weakness in the labor market, which has a trickle-down effect on consumer spending and more. So you see, they said climate count change measures the change in the number of unemployed people in the UK news, and we all know how employment actually react to, how our currency react to anything that has to do with employment. So once you get this right now the next thing you look at for is you look at for your forecast and then your previous. Now that you've known now you open up this folder. Now you read what the folder actually tells you and what to expect from the news. So now in this folder they say Office for National Statistics change the number of people claiming unemployment related benefits during the previous month. Actual less than forecast is good for currency. So what I mean by actual less than forecast is good is that the percentage that should come out when the news is finally released should be lower than the previous forecast. Like for this one, take a look. You can see that this one here is what? April 16th, 2024. The news we had was the forecast was 17.2k and actual was 10.9k, and you can see that it was in green. So there, once it's in green like this, simply means that there is a positive movement for the currency pair. Now to get more information about the news, you can continue reading. They say it is the first indication of the employment situation released a month earlier than the unemployment rate. Such change series calculation formula as of June 2015. When it comes to Forex, there are a lot of things you need to know and you need to focus more on. So why traders care? Although it's generally viewed as a lagging indicator, the number of unemployed people is an important signal of overall economic health because consumer spending is highly correlated with labor market conditions. unemployment is also a major consideration for those steering the country's monetary policy. You see that the unemployment rate also have effect on the monetary policy, and anything that has to do with all this industry tells you that there's a high movement in that particular market. So now the news, like for this particular market now, you need a value lower than the forecast to go bullish on gold, on GBP JPY. Now if in some market you actually need value greater than the previous, like for example, let's take a look at this one coming on US dollar as well, known as the core PPI. So open it to actually read. They say the core PPI, change of the price of finished goods and service sold by the producer excluding food and energy. Over here they say actual greater than forecast is good for currency. So now when reading, your main interest is in this place, this usual effect. This is where you look at for your interest. It tells you what exactly to expect. They say actual greater than forecast is good for currency. So for example, this one now, if the outcome is greater than 0.2%, so maybe the outcome is 0.25% or 0.3%, this one tells me that the outcome is greater than the forecast. So it simply means that I should place a buy order on US dollar, meaning the US dollar is going to add momentum. Now, to get a better understanding, let me show you a previous example using one of the old data in this market. Let's go back to March 14, 2024, where there was a high actual result over the forecast. So now to test this market, now we are back to Thursday, March 14th, when this news was actually released for the previous month. US dollar core PPI month over month. They say actual, let's go and read the news first. You see, they say usual effect, actual greater than forecast is good for currency. So since they say the actual greater than forecast is good, so now I'm looking for when there will be a positive impact on the news. So now with this one, now one thing I do is that this news will be released by 12:30. So I'll simply go onto my phone and I set an alarm for 12:25 p.m. So why am I setting this news by this time? Because I want to be 5 minutes ahead of the news. The reason I need to be 5 minutes ahead is that within this 5 minutes to the period where the news will be released, a lot of movement will happen in the market, and you need to focus, because in most cases, before a positive news is released in a currency, you will receive a serious drawdown before the news will come out and then push the market back to the usual spot again. So now let's go back to this particular date on our trading view and see what exactly happened in this market. So I'm going to get the date now. Thursday, March 14th, 12:30 p.m. Let me come. So now we are inside trading view. So let's go back to that particular date and see how this market reacted to that particular news. So now I'll come over here and then I'll come over here to select date. Now I'm just going to put in the date, which is 2024 March 14th, which should be Thursday, and the time 12:15. So we're going to go from 12:15. Then let's see. Okay, we're on the 5-minute candle. Let me go back to the 1 hour candle so I can get it up. Okay, so here is it. Now let me go over to 5-minute candle, which is a scalping candle time frame. So now where we are right now is, okay, this is a bearish candle. So here is the close of the candle. So this Thursday, 14th of March 2024, which is at 12:10 p.m., which is at 20 minutes to the news. So now let's see what the news actually does. Remember, the news said that it will be actual greater than forecast, will be bullish for the US dollar. And if you look at it here, let's see how the outcome. Actual PPI, let me go over to the this. Let's see, Thursday, March 12:30. Okay, let's look at the result that came out. Actual 0.3, forecast 0.2. So there are so many available here. So let's just play it and see what happens by the 12:30 on that very day. So now let me play it. So if they say the thing will be bullish on US dollar, simply means that gold will have to sell, because it's a pair between gold and US dollar. So if they say the outcome of the news will favor US dollar, meaning that gold will have to sell. So now let's see if gold actually did that. So you can see, let me go back a little bit. Let me go back to the particular time again. 12:15. Okay. So this is 15 minutes to the news. Let me mark where the market was. This is where the market was 15 minutes to the news. And according to the news, they say what? The US dollar is actually going to go bullish because the outcome was greater than the forecast. So now let's see how the news actually does from here. Now let me play it. What do you see? You see the massive sell that came in immediately. See the massive sell that came in immediately from this point. Now let's see where the market fell to. You can see the massive sell that came when the news came in. Because this is by 12:30, the news is already out already. And then here is by 12:35, the market is recovering from the news. Because in most cases, after the news has pumped the market, then it starts recovering 5 minutes later or even less. So now when it comes to trading news, the first thing you need to do is that, as I already said, is that set alarm to be 5 minutes ahead of the market. So by 12, if the news is coming out by 12:30, by 12:25, you should be on your chart. And then you simply be there. And then one thing on Forex Factory is that once there's in less than 5 minutes of the news, they will start counting towards the news, and immediately the result come out. If the result will favor the currency pair, it will show green. Like for example, if it will favor the currency pair, it will show green. But if it would favor it, it will show red like this. You see, we have both green and red. So if it will favor it, it comes as green. But if it won't favor it, it comes as red. So now once the news pop up as green for the currency pair, like for example, this is gold US dollar. So if there's a positive news on US dollar, it simply means that what? Gold is actually going to sell. But then if there's a negative news on US dollar, it simply means that gold is actually going to buy. Now, one thing is that after the market has fell like this seriously, one thing I tend to do is that I do get into the market once I notice the news is over. Like for example, this one now, I know after the news, the market is likely to come back to this very top again. So let's see what actually happens after everything. You see, the market went back before falling back in again. You see, why is this still falling? Because the news effect was really high, and the news effect actually supported the market direction, which was a downtrend. But then you can see both sides play out. Now, here's the advice I have for you when it comes to trading news. When trading news, make sure not to hold your trade for too long. Immediately get to any decent profit, get out of the market. Once you notice any sign of reversal, get out of the market for security reasons. Like for example, when I'm trading news, immediately, let me say the news was released by 12:30. By 12:30 and some few seconds after I see that a huge movement in the market, I'm out of the market. Why? Because it's a news trade. I don't set to take profit in my news trade. I simply wait for the market to give me that first adverse movement. And once that adverse movement gets successfully to where it's going and it gives me any sign of rejection, I get out of the market. So that's simply all I have for you when it comes to trading news. First of all, read and understand what the news means. Secondly, when you're entering the trade, once you get into any good profit, get out of the market immediately. Now, here's one thing I will tell you. Don't try to predict what the news will tell you. Simply wait for what Forex Factory shows before you get into the market. So with that already said, have a nice day. Bye.